Hello, YouTube. This is J Coder back with another video, and today we're going to be going over the stages of activity lifecycle. And we already covered some of it yesterday, and today I'm going to be finishing up the lesson with that. So basically, the life cycle of an activity is very important for Android development. And so, also, if you want to catch up with the video, go ahead and if you want to catch up with this lesson, go ahead and watch the video that I came out with yesterday, and you'll be brought up to speed. And also, thank you guys for attending this channel right now, and I would like to really encourage you all to subscribe and comment and like on this video. And I appreciate all of you that watch these videos as well. And so I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my display here. So let's see. So, and also this tutorial is going to be in Android Studio, so you should go ahead and bring that up. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mute this music, and I'm gonna go ahead and post in the chat this code lab, and we're on step number 5. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and post this in the chat so people can follow along, and you'll also see it posted in the comments or in the description as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and post this guy in the chat. And also, if you haven't already, you can download the starter code as well for this particular assignment. I'm going to get the starter code for you guys here so that you can also access that. It's going to be actually on GitHub, and I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat just in case whoever wants to download that and follow along can also do so. So I'm going to go ahead and post that, and that link is the starter code. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and go forward with our lesson. Oh yeah, just so you guys know, I actually have the project here. It's the dessert clicker project, and we haven't really been coding. We have been just observing the life cycle, where we have been printing out logs, basically to show the different methods like the on create, on start, on resume, things like that. So let's see. In 5 it says explore configuration changes. There's another case in managing the activity lifecycle that is important to understand: how configuration changes affect the life cycle of your activities. A configuration change happens when the state of the device changes so radically that the easiest way for the system to resolve the change is to completely shut down and rebuild the activity. For example, if the user changes the device language, the whole layout might need to change to accommodate different text directions and string links. If the user plugs the device into a dock or adds a physical keyboard, the app layout may need to take advantage of a different display size or layout. And if the device orientation changes, if the device is rotated from portrait to landscape or back the other way, the layout may need to change to fit the new orientation. Let's look at how the app behaves in this scenario. Data loss on device rotation. 1. Compile and run your app, and and open Logcat. Rotate the device or emulator to landscape mode. You can rotate the emulator left or right with the rotation buttons or with the control and arrow keys, command and arrow keys on Mac. So on here, we can go to our Android Studio and we can go to, we're going to go ahead and play it. And once we play it, the application will come up. And then once the application will come up, we're going to go ahead and rotate the device. So, all right. So the application has come up and it said to rotate the device. You could press these buttons, but also on Mac you can press Command arrow key, and that will also rotate the device as well. So, all right. Now it says examine the output on Logcat. So let's see what it said on Logcat when we rotated the device. So we're on the Run tab right now. Let's change this tab to Logcat. And then, so actually let's redo this really quick. Let me just stop this. Let me rotate it back. And then let's go ahead and play it. And then let's see, if we can see the log output in real time. Okay, so we ran it. And now we're going to go to the Logcat tab. And we're specifically looking for the main activity. So what was done so far was on create called, on start called, on resume called. And those are the three that are always called when the app is first brought up. So now what they want us to do is they want us to go ahead and do a rotation to landscape mode. And then once we did that, it actually, let's see. So it looks like it called it on create called, on start, on resume again. Let me just see what happens when you turn it back. Okay. Interesting. After that, after I changed it back, it called the on pause, on stop, on destroy. So it destroys the complete thing and recreates it all over again. Wow. So the landscape and portrait activity is kind of more separated from each other than you may think, because it does a complete on pause, on call, on destroy, on create, on start, on resume. Like, wow, it goes through like the complete life cycle from simply rotating it. So, all right. So yeah, that's what they have here, where it on start, on destroy, on create, on start, and then on resume. Notice that when the device or emulator rotates the screen, the system calls all the lifecycle callbacks to shut down the activity. Then, as the activity is recreated, the system calls all the lifecycle callbacks to start the activity. When the device is rotated and the activity is shut down and recreated, the activity starts up with default values. The number of desserts sold and revenue have reset to 0. Use on save instant state to save bundle data. The on save instant state method is a callback you use to save data that you might need if the activity is destroyed. If the lifecycle callback diagram on save instance state is called after the activity has been stopped, it's called every time your app goes into the background. Think of the on save instance state call as a safety measure. It gives you a chance to save a small amount of information to bundle as your activity exits the foreground. The system saves this data now because of it waited until it was shutting down your app. The system might be under resource pressure. Note, sometimes Android shuts down an entire app process, which includes every activity associated with the app. Android does this kind of shutdown when the system is stressed and in danger of visually lagging, so no additional callbacks or code is run at this point. Your app's process is simply shut down silently in the background, but to the user, it doesn't look like the app has been closed. When the user navigates back to an app that the Android system has shut down, Android restarts that app. You'll want to ensure that the user doesn't experience any data loss when this happens. Saving the data each time ensures that the updated data in the bundle is available to restore. If it is needed in main activity, override the on save instance state callback and add a log statement. So we're going to add on instant save. So this is a built-in function of the activity. So we're going to go ahead and uh, override it inside our actual Android Studio, inside our main activity. And then inside our main activity, we're going to, I'll go ahead and do it after our on create. Well, yeah, that's fine. I'll go ahead and do it after our on create. And you notice our other ones, on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, all built in methods that are overridden here so that we can be able to display a log when it is called. So we have added one more, which is on save instance state, and it's going to log when this is called. So, okay, so they probably want to use that to save the data. Note that there are two overrides for on save instance state, one with just an out state parameter and one that includes out state and on out persistent state parameters. Use the one shown in the code above with a single out state parameter. Compile and run the app and click the home button to put into the and click compile and run the app and click the home button to put it into the background. Notice that the on save instance callback occurs just once, just after on pause and on stop. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go to our Android Studio and then go ahead and go to our go ahead and stop it. And then let's go ahead and play. And then once we go ahead and play it, we will hit the home button and see what happens. So we went ahead and played it, and let's go to our logcat. Let's scroll down to the bottom of our logcat, and then here's our initial calls when the activity was created. And now once we do that, we're going to hit the home button, or I'm sorry, this one's the home button. And then once we hit the home button, is gonna call these ones, which is on pause called, on stop called, then the on save instance state is called. So at that point, you can probably save your changes in case the activity is destroyed and you want the data to persist past the activity being destroyed. At the top of the file, just before the class definition, add these constants. So, yeah, just to show you guys on theirs as well. For the logging, they have the on pause called, on stop, on save instance state called. So that is the proper order of which they are called. At the top of the file, just before the class definition, add these constants. So now we are at the. They said to put these at the top of the file. Outside, it's pretty much outside the class definition on top. So it's going to be like a global constant variable on the very top outside the class definition. And these are going to be keys, key revenue, key dessert sold. Okay. All right. So these are two keys that we created. You will use these keys for both saving and retrieving data from the instant state bundle. A scroll down to on save instance state and scroll down to on save instance state and notice the the out state out state parameter, which is the is of type bundle. A bundle is a collection of key value pairs where the keys are always strings. You can put simple data such as int and boolean values into the bundle because the system keeps the bundle in memory. It's a best practice to keep the data in the bundle small. The size of the bundle is also limited va- through the size varies from device to device. If you store too much data, you risk crashing your app with the transaction too large exception error. In on save instance state, put the revenue value and integer into the bundle with the put int method. So in the on state instance, put the revenue value into the bundle. So we're putting the revenue value into the bundle. So let's see. And we have after on create, and then we have this out state, which is a variable of the bundle, and then we're going to use this out state to put the key inside here. All right, and the put int method and similar methods from the bundle class like put float and put string takes two arguments: a string for the key revenue constant, and the actual value to save. Repeat the same process with the number of desserts sold. So we're gonna do the same process here with the number of desserts sold, and we're gonna go ahead and put this inside our Android Studio, and it's gonna be the next line right here where we also put for this key value the dessert sold. So these are gonna be the two values that we're going to save when the object when the activity is destroyed. So let us go back, and then it says use onCreate to restore bundle data. The activity state can be restored in onCreate bundle or on restore instance state bundle. The bundle populated by on state instance state method will be passed to both lifecycle callback methods. Scroll up to onCreate and examine the method signature. Notice that the onCreate gets a bundle each time it is called when your activity is restarted due to a process shutdown. The bundle that you saved is passed to onCreate. If your activity was starting fresh, this bundle in onCreate is null. So if the bundle is not null, you know you are recreating the activity from a previous known point. Note, if the activity is being recreated, the onStore instance state callback is called after onStart. Also, with the bundle, most of the time you restore the activity state in onCreate, but because onRestore instance state is called after onStart, if you ever need to restore some state after onCreate is called, you can use onStore instance state. Add this code to the onCreate just after the binding variable is set. So just after the binding variable is set inside our onCreate, we're going to call this, and this revenue is getting the saved instance state, which is key revenue, and we're going to set that inside our onCreate. So when we go back to our Android, we go to our onCreate, and then once we're at our onCreate, we are going to after our onCreate variable is set, probably after this long, we can call this, which will be setting our revenue variable to this. And then, of course, down here, our revenue is going to be set down here to revenue, which by default, revenue is equal to 0. So it's no longer going to be equal to 0 if we changed it before. The test for null determines whether there is data in the bundle. If the bundle is null, which in turn tells you if the app has been started fresh or has been recreated after a shutdown, this test is a common pattern for restoring data from the bundle. So you gotta first check if there is a value inside save state. If there's no value, then it will be null. Notice that the key you used here, key revenue, is the same key you use for the put int. To make sure you use the same key each time, it is best to practice to define these keys as constants. You use key int to get data out of the bundle, just as you use put int to put data into the bundle. The getInt method takes two arguments: a string that acts as the key, for example, key revenue for the revenue value. A default value is in case no a default value in no a default value in case no value exists for that key in the bundle. The integer you get from the bundle is then assigned the revenue variable, and the UI will use that value. So add get int methods to restore the revenue and the number of desserts sold. So we're going to go ahead and also restore the number of desserts sold as well. So here we go. So now we're going to copy this and go back to our Android Studio. And then after the revenue is saved, we're going to go here and we're going to save the dessert sold into from the save state here, which we have saved once it is paused and stopped. It will save these variables to the save instance state, basically with this key and then this value, and then it says compile and run the app. Press the cupcake at least 5 times until it switches to a donut. Rotate the device. Notice that this time the app displays correct revenue and desserts sold values from the bundle, but also notice that the dessert has returned to a cupcake. So basically, they want us to go ahead and test it here, and then so we're going to go ahead and run the application again. And then once we run the application again, we're going to go over to our dessert and we're going to click it 5 times. And once we click it 5 times, it changes into another dessert, which is a donut. And so notice that we spent $25 and bought 5 desserts so far. And then once we do the landscape mode, it appears that this time it has saved our data. So last time when we did this, these would revert back to 0. But since we added that code to save the instance and save these variables to key value variables inside that method, we see that these variables, these values are indeed saved. But they said there's a little bug that's still happening in our application, which is this muffin here has returned, which we already sold those. So let's see what they have to say. Let me go ahead and freshly quit that. And then there was one more thing left to do to ensure that the app returns from a shutdown exactly the way it left. And main activity, examine the show current dessert method. Notice that the method determines which image should be displayed in the activity based on the current number of desserts sold and the list of desserts in the all desserts variable. This method relies on the number of desserts sold to choose the right image. Therefore, you don't need to do anything to store a reference to the image in the bundle and on save instance state. In that bundle, you are already storing the number of desserts sold. In on create, in the block that restores the state from the bundle, call show current dessert. If save instance state not equals null, then revenue equals save instance state dot get int key revenue. And so yeah, so basically we have to add the show current desserts into this variable, into this method, so that it can appropriately update the screen for us. So basically, what we need to do is we need to go back here, and then it was saying, wait, so, okay, if that saved instance is not equals null, then we need to call this method, because usually that method is not called until something is clicked, which when that is clicked, then this is shown. But since nothing was clicked when the app was first created, then it doesn't know to update the screen. So calling it here after we have set the appropriate values should update the screen appropriately. So let's go ahead and try that. All right. So we have this. And so we're going to go ahead and hit this 5 times. And then that turned to the donut. And then when we hit the command like that to, oh, interesting. It actually crashed. Says unable to start activity. Late init property binding has not been initialized. On 167. Let's also see if they mention that in the lesson as well. So in the lesson, correctly restored. So okay. So in the grade, okay. So this method relies on the number of desserts sold to choose the right image. Let's see. So The says the late init property binding has not been initialized. So binding has not been initialized. So where's the binding initialized? So it looks like binding was not initialized yet when we called this guy. So it's important that this guy actually be called after the binding is initialized, because the binding needed to have been accessed in order to set the image. And so since the image was not ready yet because it was not initialized with our activity main layout file, then it didn't exist yet. So that's why we were getting the error. And so let's see if that corrects it. So let's go ahead and run that. Actually, let me hurry up and turn that back so that we can start in the vertical or the portrait mode. And then we're going to hit this 5 times. Then we're going to rotate it. And then once we rotate it, that's correct. It saved our image, it saved our dessert sold, and it saved our revenue. So everything is working properly without any crashes as well. So that's great. All right, so okay. I'll go ahead and close that guy. And go back to here, our lesson. All right, so we says compile run and rotate the screen. Note that both the values for desserts sold, total revenue, and the dessert image are correctly restored. All right. In summary, activity lifecycle. The activity lifecycle is set of The activity lifecycle is a set of states through which an activity migrates. The activity lifecycle begins when the activity is first created and ends when the activity is destroyed. As the user navigates between activities and inside and outside of your app, each activity moves between states in the activity lifecycle. Each state in the activity lifecycle has a corresponding callback method you can override in your activity class. The core set of lifecycle methods are on create, on start, on pause, on restart, on resume, on stop, on destroy. To add behavior that occurs when your activity transitions into a lifecycle state, override the state's callback method. To add skeleton override methods to your classes in Android Studio, select code override methods or press Control plus O. Logging with, and also I wanted to go into see about rememorizing this order, because this order is usually very important in things such as an interview and in general. where you'll have to know the order of the activity life cycle. So, for instance, name the methods in the activity life cycle, and you would basically say on create, on start, on pause, on restart, on resume, on stop, on destroy. And yeah, so I strongly encourage you all to memorize that. And also, the Android logging API, and specifically the log class, enables you to write short messages that are displayed in the log cat with Android Studio. The log.d to write a debug message. This method takes two arguments: the log tag, typically the name of the class, and the log message, a short string. Use the logcat window in Android Studio to view the system logs, including messages you write. Preserving activity state. When your app goes into the background just after onStop is called, app data can be saved to a bundle. Some app data, such as the contents of an edit text, is automatically saved for you. The bundle is an instance of bundle, which is a collection of keys and values. The keys are always strings. Use the onSave instance state callback to save other data to the bundle that you want to retain. Even if the app was automatically shut down, to put data into the bundle, use the bundle methods that start with put, such as put int. You can get data back out of the bundle in the on restore instance state method, or more commonly in on create. The on create method has save instance state parameter that holds the bundle. If the save instance state variable is null, the activity was started without uh, a state bundle, and there is no state data to retrieve. To retrieve data from the bundle with a key, use the bundle methods that start with get, such as get int. Configuration changes. A configuration change happens when the state of the device changes so radically that the easiest way for the system to resolve the change is to destroy and rebuild the activity. The most common example of configuration change is when the user rotates the device from the portrait to landscape mode, or from landscape to portrait mode. A configuration change can also occur when the device language changes or hardware keyword is plugged in. When the configuration change occurs, Android invokes all the activity lifecycles shutdown callbacks. Then Android restarts the activity from scratch, running all the lifecycle startup callbacks. When Android shuts down on shut when Android shuts down an app because of configuration change, it starts the activity with the state bundle that is available to onCreate. As with process shutdown, save your app state to the bundle and on save instance state. And as always, I encourage you guys to look at these different links inside the Learn More section, such as log class, write and view logs with logcat, compile time, constants, activity class, app compat, app compat, activity class, activity developer guide. All right. And guys, that's actually all for today for the stream. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. And I encourage you guys, as always, to subscribe to the channel and comment if you have any questions or comments, and like this video, and stay tuned for future videos. And this these lessons are to help you become a good Android developer, knowledgeable and professional according to your goals. You can learn the different things that you need to learn in the Android development language and environment and world. All right, guys. As always, I encourage you to stay coding. All right. Peace.